Hey, what's good, Lovecraft fans? So, as you might know, there's a new video game coming out in 2017 called Call of Cthulhu, the official video game. And it's supposed to be based on the Call of Cthulhu role playing game made by Chaosium. There's no official release date yet, and there's not much information, as you can see on the homepage. It even just says full website coming soon. But it is due in 2017, and I know it is coming out for PS4. I don't actually own a PS4, but definitely I will be buying one just so I can play this game. And I think the trailer just came out last week. I was on holiday, I didn't have time to make a video about it or view my reactions, so I just thought maybe I'll watch this trailer and give my impressions about what I'm seeing. Alright, let's check it out.
My beloved son, he's...
I don't trust them. You must help me, Mr. Pierce.
a monster!
Are you sure these paintings were hers?
This creature is an insult to God.
Okay, immediately seems like this Mr. Pierce is like a private detective or something, which wouldn't surprise me too much because it would be like rebooting Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth, where Jack Walters, he was the private detective, and as in his goes in his investigation, he discovers all the monsters and shit. As for some paintings, I think that sounds like something taken from Pickman's model, where you had the paintings of the horrific creatures, and then they mentioned here in the trailer, like, the monster. You know, it's an abomination of God, or whatever you said. So that seems to be like the route they're going here. The private detective discovering the paintings of a deranged person, and then this is how they're introducing the story.
Cast it back into the sea.
They are not in the spaces we know, but in between them.
Now this part definitely sounds like it's mentioning From Beyond, where you have the entities which are living with us, but we can't see them, you know, in between the spaces, you know, as she said. So it seems like they're definitely trying to cram in a lot of Lovecraftian stories, not just Call of Cthulhu, which is a good idea, I think, because Call of Cthulhu, to make a whole video game just based on that, I don't think it would really work.
Dozens of dead whales floating belly up with unexplained lacerations. That's what I heard.
Now this immediately makes me think of Dagon. If you remember Dagon, the protagonist, he discovers half-eaten sea creatures, including whales, and when he discovers that monolith, he sees that has been carved on the monolith pictures of gigantic creatures which are seen wrestling with giant whales and such. So this is definitely another inclusion of a Lovecraftian story, and also makes me think like what kind of enemies you will be facing in the game, because it can't just be Cthulhu if they do choose to have Cthulhu as an enemy, because you know you have to have this like the smaller characters before you reach the boss. And I certainly hope they don't turn Cthulhu into like a final boss fight, because that would just be ridiculous if you had to square up with him with a shotgun or something.
People fear darkness, but if I were you, I would fear light.
Fire was an accident. The case is closed.
The bodies, they don't match.
Turn back while you still can. There's nothing to find here.
I have seen things. Dreams of the deep, of a lightless city. Have you had those dreams as well?
Okay, now it definitely seems like this will be a first-person perspective game, which I think is going to really work well. Recently, I'm watching the Rad Brad play Resident Evil 7, and it's in the first-person perspective, and it's also a horror game, and that's working extremely well. It's a really intense game, so it looks like that's the perspective they're going to go for. Also, the mention of dreams. So I'm actually going to take a guess here, and I'm going to say they include dreams as some sort of gameplay mechanic. Like you need to rest, and then, or you get knocked out or something, and then you enter like a dream realm. You know, like a mini stage or something, and then you have to try and go through like Arlia or something like that. I think that's what they're going to do.
He's dreaming.
Now that looks cool. Look at that. That's like it's like a portal or something, and there's tentacles coming out of it. That looks like we're gonna have teleportation, maybe? I don't know, but that looks bloody cool.
You will awake.
Mr. Pierce, have you ever questioned your own sanity? Maybe you should.
Okay, now that's definitely a cult. And by the look of the way the guy with the robe on his head, he turned and that is not a human. So I'm still going to go with Deep Ones here, like a cult of Deep Ones, esoteric order of Dagon maybe. So now we're going to get Shadow over Innsmouth in the story. That's even great. That's a great thing. I hope that it doesn't get too convoluted, you know. But it seems to me like they're just taking little aspects from from various stories and adding them in, and it's going to turn into a good mix if the writing is good. And also they mentioned sanity, so it's Lovecraft. You have to have a sanity mechanic. So are we going to see something like from Amnesia, The Dark Descent, maybe? Or maybe you have to take some sort of a drug, like you have like a sanity meter in parallel to your health meter, and then you have to take something like in Dagon. In the story of Dagon, the guy, he takes basically drugs in order to calm his sanity, but when he runs out of drugs because he's broke, he decides to throw himself out the window just because he can't live anymore. So that would definitely be a great addition to this game. There were also some screenshots on the website that I found, just taken from the game. Like here, we can see first person's perspective. It seems to be confirmed that it will be like that. And I've got the lantern, which is a nice touch. And by the way, everything looks here, the guy's dress and his watch, and the fact that he's using a candlelit lantern seems like it's going to be set in 1920s, 30s, which would be fitting. Personally, I really don't like Lovecraftian stories set in modern day times. I don't know, for some reason, the 1920s to 30s, that's the aesthetic that goes well with Lovecraft, so I like this. Here in this picture, we see, again, the first person's perspective, and look how everything's kind of blurry. Everything looks like when you're watching a 3D film and then take off your glasses, and then everything looks a bit like shifted or something. So this is definitely a sign of the insanity mechanic they're planning. I thought this picture was also pretty cool. Here, if you notice above the cop, there's a sign that says "Welcome to Darkwater," and it's clearly that this is intended that it's going to be the place where everything is happening, I think, and it's going to be created in the sense of a sort of Kingsport / Innsmouth type place. And because it's by a dock side, obviously the ocean's going to be involved somehow, but I don't think it's such a bad thing that they didn't just try to use Innsmouth instead, because if you think of a game set in Innsmouth, you would expect too much. Like, you would expect that things would play out like they did in Shadow over Innsmouth, which is a good thing that they just started like, hey, let's just make a spiritual sequel to the town of Innsmouth, or the town of Arkham. So I really think this is turning out well. Okay, so yeah, this is my impression of the whole trailer and the few pictures I found on their website. I'm like so damn amped to play this game. Not just for the sake of playing a game, but also I want to do this for my channel. I really want to create a proper Let's Play. You know, there's Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, and then there's a few other Lovecraft games like Eldritch. That's been played to death and everything, so as soon as this comes out, I want to already have a PlayStation lined up. I want to do a Let's Play of it, you know, sort of like the Rad Brad, because that's actually why I wanted to start making YouTube videos in the first place, as doing Let's Plays. And frankly, you know, I think by the time this game comes out, I'm going to have an even stronger Lovecraft YouTube channel, and, you know, who else has the right to play? I mean, obviously, I don't want to say who else has the right to play this game, but if there's anyone out there that should be playing this game, putting on their channel, that's the person I want to be. I want to be that guy up there playing this game. So yeah, I look forward to when this comes out in 2017, and when it does, please, yeah, enjoy my Let's Plays of it. Alright, cheers.